speculation using your money. They didn't just speculate on commodities, they speculated on foodstuffs. Things like wheat, things that people need to eat. Now when they buy loads of wheat and make the price go up like 20, 30, 40%, people who live in Egypt, people who live in Libya, people who live in Africa, in the Middle East, Somalia, poorer countries than ours, they can't afford to eat because Barclays are speculating on their food and pricing them right out of the market. They can't eat enough. They can't afford to because Barclays want to make their money. And that's how they're doing it. It's not ethical. So if you have a bank account with Barclays, think about moving it to a credit union. Think about moving it to a cooperative bank. Think about moving it somewhere where your money is not killing brown people. Thank you.
For too long, this country and the Western system has been I just got told to try freedom of speech without the microphone. If only that advice was more inherently common around these parts, then maybe people would actually indulge in a free conversation without the need for me here with a microphone. Unfortunately, time has been going on too long where absolutely everybody has proved that they are apathetic to where their money goes and what the government does with it. They are too used to paying the taxes without actually wondering why. Fractional reserve banking is bleeding the value out of this country and nobody is interested in doing anything about it. That's why we're here with megaphones.
You see, ladies and gentlemen, in our current educational system or our culture, we are not taught how the banking system actually works. How the banking system actually works is a process known as fractional reserve banking, as my good friend has just mentioned. If you would like to know how fractional reserve banking works, please look it up. Because the educational system does not want you to know. Have a look online for a document known as Modern Money Mechanics. It's not some sort of Marxist conspiracy theory booklet. It's a document released by the Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago, outlining the process of fractional reserve banking. And for anyone who understands banking terminology, you will read that document and go, wait a minute, isn't that otherwise known as fraud, how the banking system works? Exactly. Thank you.
What it is. The money doesn't exist. You're chasing a derivatives bubble down the drain that will never ever be filled. You hear on the news every day we've now gone over £1 trillion worth of debt, a black hole worth of debt. And the money that you guys have got to make for year after year after year to pay your house 2-3 times over, to pay off the last little payment on your car, whatever it may be, the bills that exist in your life may seem in more times to come more expensive than the actual value of what you are receiving.
So that means you can get a mortgage for £100,000. By the time you finish paying off your house, you paid for it 2.5 times. What for? So you can give big bonuses to bankers. Is that really fair? Is that really what you want? Is that really doing us any good? You know, how these people can take their bonuses when they're making money off starving people, because that's what Barclays have done. They've invested and put their money, put their customers' money, and they've speculated on the things that people need. You know, I don't know if you noticed, coconut oil went up about 100% a year ago. That was because of Barclays hoarding it, messing with the market. Doesn't matter so much for coconut oil unless you're making lots of curries. But, you know, it kind of does matter if it's wheat. It does matter if that's what you eat. doesn't matter if your family's food bill has just shot up by over 100%. Because that's what happened in Egypt. That's part of the reason why people came out on the streets, because they couldn't afford to do anything else. Thank you, Barclays. I hope you're really pleased with yourself for getting really rich and getting your bonuses off the backs of abusing brown people. Because we all know for Barclays that brown people don't care. You know, and that was why they traded so much in South Africa. Because they just don't care. If you're not a banker, then to Barclays you're subhuman.
I have a little question for you all. Does anyone know exactly what gives our money value? If you answer with nothing, then you are absolutely correct, because it's fiat currency. Thank you.
We left the gold standard in the 50s. We left behind any representative value of our monetary system. You see, a pound sterling that you carry around in your pocket is a tiny little piece of brass. It's supposed to represent a pound of sterling silver. And yet, since when we left the gold standard, we left all of that behind. And we said hello to a Ponzi scheme. A Ponzi scheme where, no matter how much you borrow, and I say borrow, you go into a bank, you ask for, say, £5,000 for a new car. Where does that money come from? Are they making a phone call to the mint to say, excuse me, we need £5,000 for this gentleman here who needs to go off and provide it in his life? No, of course not. They're typing it in on a computer screen. And then you pay interest on it. Where does that money come from? It doesn't. So if there's more money on all of these computer screens than in actual circulation, where does the value come from?
Ladies and gentlemen, our entire lives we have been lied to by the establishment powers. We are told that our money has value, when in fact it doesn't. There is as much backing our currency as there is backing monopoly money. So a little question, just a little curious question to the staff at HSBC. Please come out and tell me, I'm posing a question. Come out and tell me what gives our money value.
Great bankers won't come out, Adam. They don't know what they're doing. And that's the reason. No, that's what our system's based on, a need-to-know basis. And yet, if the people at the bottom are making decisions, and the people at the top are making decisions that inherently affect the people at the bottom, without the bottom getting a chance to have a say in it at all, then they blindly walk themselves off the cliff.
Yep, pretty much. So, for any of you who actually want to know how the banking system works, then, as I said, look up a document called Modern Money Mechanics. If you don't understand banking terms, which Modern Money Mechanics is written in banking terms, then there are quite a few documents, very useful documentaries to actually help you understand how the banking system works. One of them is called Money and Debt. The other one is called Zeitgeist Addendum. It basically goes through the specifics of fractional reserve banking. Thank you all.
Right, quid's in. Here, I'll money up. Got dollar. Get talk to Pushy then.
See, ladies and gentlemen, have you ever bought anything that truly makes you happy? Or is it the fact that material possessions or money cannot make you happy? Really, the truth to your own, the path to your own happiness lies within yourself. It lies within the connections you have with your loved ones and friends. And teaching yourself that in earth you are happy. Thank you. Come to your nearest CCTV camera so that your face may be recorded, placed on a database, and then your life controlled. Thank you. It is very important that at all times you pay attention to the mainstream media and make sure that whenever you see an advert, you start thinking to yourself, you know what, I really am incomplete without that £1,000 handbag. I really need to work harder at my job that I hate so I can earn the money that doesn't even exist, so I can buy that handbag in the vague hope that it will make me happy. But the thing is, when you get it home, it doesn't make you happy. It's just a handbag. So it can't make you happy. The root to your own happiness lies within yourself. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, yesterday the Bank of England printed another £400 billion. What that means to you is the pound in your pocket is worth a fair chunk less than it was when you went to sleep last night. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about the Bank of England sticking their hand in your pocket and taking your raw money? Yeah?
When there's two ex-soldiers and they throw them out on the street.
I'll tell you what, that idea makes me feel very screwed. The fact that the banks loot, just loot money from us. Never mind that, the rioters in London were looting shops. How about the looting that goes on behalf of the banks every single day? But that's alright, isn't it? Because it's the bankers, right? They're allowed to do that because they're rich. If they're rich, that means they're entitled to even more money, right? Wrong. Absolutely wrong.
They get their money by quantitative easing. So I was just thinking, if I behave like a banker, maybe I could come up to you and quantitatively ease a few £5 notes out of your pocket. Because that's exactly what they're doing. When you went to bed last night, the pound in your pocket was worth more than it was this morning. Why? Because the Bank of England just decided to print another 400 billion of them and give them to their mates. So, sorry England, you're being ripped off today. Not a great Friday. And remember to put the blame where it is. To the Bank of England, to the politicians that are helping them get away with sticking their hand in your pocket day after day after day. Don't encourage the banks. Take your money out of the big banks. Go to a cooperative bank. Go to a credit union. Go to somewhere where they won't take your money and starve brown people with it. They won't take your money and play commodity casino with people's lives, with commodities that they need to survive. Because that's what Barclays is doing. Barclays just don't care about brown people.
It is my experience that Barclays don't actually care about anyone or anything besides their own bank balance.
They got a very big bank balance. I think it's about £5.6 billion they made last year.
Is that enough?
I don't know. They know they're going to spend £900 million of it on bonuses. I don't know how big a bonus what they make.
You see, ladies and gentlemen, there's a certain thing in our culture known as counterfeiting, right? If you or I were to try and create our own currency and try and circulate it amongst our commerce system, guess what would happen to us? We'd be thrown in jail. However, the banking system does the exact same thing every single day, and they get away with it because of how the inherent logic of the banking system works. It's always known as fractional reserve banking and compound interest, the creation of money out of thin air. Just created out of thin air whenever a deposit or loan happens in the banking system. Whenever it happens, it's inherently inflationary, and you wonder why the currency is getting less and less and less value. Because there's just more and more and more of it that's flooding the market. And that is how the banking system works. So you're okay with that?
I think they ought to put bank charges up. I mean, if you go a little bit overdrawn, I think you get, depending on which bank, it's 10, 12, 20, 25, 30 pounds. for going overdrawn. Now, I thought it was against the law in this country to have punitive fines. I thought they were only supposed to charge you what it cost them to arrange your overdraft. I didn't think they were supposed to give you a fine, give you a penalty, take your money off you. But you know what those bankers do? They get in touch with their friends and they say, you know, we've got a little money maker here, you know. When these people get their sums wrong, we hit them, and we hit them for lots of money. So, how about we give you a job after you finish being an MP, you know? Like Tony Blair. Tony Blair worked 12 days for 5 million quid for Goldman Sachs. That's a nice payoff. Anybody here work 12 days a year and get 5 million quid for it? No, I didn't think so. And that's why they let their little banker friends get away with those kind of punitive charges, and we're all paying for it. And that's why, if you can, take your money out of one of the big banks, stick it in a cooperative bank or a credit union. That way your money won't be used to starve back people, won't be used to leverage small businesses and people's houses, put pennies on the pound when they decide they want to shake you down, because they're not putting any money into the system, and they want more and more money out of you. And so the house that you've worked 20, 30 years for, the business that you've worked years and years for, gets bought up for nothing, for absolutely nothing, just because they're messing around with their numbers on their computers. And last year they did very well with their numbers. They made 5.8 billion. So much so they could give themselves 900 million quid's worth of bonuses.
I'll tell you what, I'm actually coming up with a theory today. I think banking CEOs, they're not actually human, because for some reason I keep thinking to myself, why would somebody want that, you know, magnitude of money every single day? You know, that's the reason why I think they're possibly not human, because no human would have the ability to take in, you know, that much activity from prostitutes and that quantity of cocaine.
The bankers need their bonuses because who else is going to keep the prostitutes and drug dealers in the city of London busy? I mean, seriously, think about it.
I can just imagine a world without bankers where the prostitution and drug trades really take a hit.
I don't know if you know, but in Hong Kong they trade more gold than anywhere else in the world. They trade these little kilo gold bars. What they trade it in Hong Kong for, in fact, it was that trade that Hong Kong Shanghai Banking Corporation, or HSBC, was founded on. The opium trade, and they still trade today. They trade Golden Triangle opium for gold on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. So, you know, at least HSBC is a safe bank because it's a drug dealing bank. But, you know, I think we're here to talk about Barclays today, so, yeah.
Yeah, just so you know, ladies and gentlemen, no bank in the world launders drug money. Don't worry. Just seriously, yes, drug money.
Now, wasn't it the Wachovia Bank in America where some money the Mexican drug dealers had been laundering there, and the Mexican drug dealers pulled out about £380 billion, and that caused the 2008 stock exchange crash, because without Mexican drug money there was no liquidity. Without any liquidity, the economy ground to a halt, and then thousands and thousands of people lost their jobs across the globe, while lots of bankers made lots of money because they saw it coming. So, you know, if you don't want to support that kind of trade, if you can, get yourself a cooperative bank account, get yourself to a credit union, get your money out of these liars, killers, thieves' hands, and do something ethical. Because at least that way you'll sleep better at night. Thank you.
That is a very good point, ladies and gentlemen. And my batteries are starting to run out. Just so you know, ladies and gentlemen, the inherent logic of the banking system itself is inherently inflationary.
person who's picking people's pockets. Unless you're the person who's picking up a £900 million bonus this weekend.
I'll tell you what, it sounds downright criminal to me.
And it certainly is. For how long is all of the value in our system and our society funneled to the top of the pyramid? And how long can that go on before it all rolls off the top and back to the people? Eventually, they are going to piss all of you off enough that you will bite back. What we're wondering is how long it's going to take and how many times are they going to have to pick your pocket before you actually step up and get angry.
You know, in the last 20 years, the richest 10% in this country are now 30 times more wealthy than the poorest 10% in this country. The poorest 10% in this country, their average wealth is £8,000. The richest, well, they're well over £800,000. And that gap has widened. The richest 10% are 100 times wealthier than the poorest. That wasn't the case 20 years ago. That wasn't the case 30 years ago. Did we vote for this? You know, did we want this to happen? Did we ask for this to happen? Or did we just sleepwalk into it? And are we still sleepwalking today? Are we still letting these banks invest money for us that actually hurts people? You know, there are things we can do, and sometimes it's just a case of opening your eyes and seeing what choices that are available. So, if you with one of the big banks, then stop and think. Now, I can take my money to a credit union, even take it to a cooperative bank, where they won't exploit people, where they won't use their huge amount of wealth to manipulate commodities that people live on, that are their staple diets that they need to survive. And this is what Barclays are messing with, for profit. That's not fair. And you can make a difference, so make a difference. Go, move your bank account to a credit union, move it to a cooperative, and then you can make a difference. And people won't be abusing other people, you know, off your back, whether you like it or not. Thank you.
Because we have a couple of crazy men on megaphone speaking freely in a public area, which by the way is completely lawful, I'd just like to thank the lovely police officer over there who's come to see how these naughty boys are behaving and make sure that they don't break the law. Thank you.
Yes, we must be careful not to use any bad language. So please excuse me if I use naughty words like Goldman Sachs, Barclays, Lloyds, TSB, HSBC. I'm sorry for the bad language.
I think the police officer has something to say on his megaphone. Would you like to join it? Would you like to make a 4-part harmony, sir?
Down to how to build a rocket. You just gotta always look on the bright side of life.
Tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, next time we will be out on the streets with a megaphone, we will have our own lyrics to that song. Don't worry. Actually, just to check with the police officer, would that be a violation of ACTA to change the lyrics? Well, you just got to shrug. So I can take it that we can just, like, you know, risk it, yeah?
Don't tell Barclays, they might try and copyright the bright side of life.
And then charge you £10 every time you listen to it.
Or whistle. And when Barclays, you often whistle for it.
Oh yeah, eventually there will be an establishment power that will try and patent the act of the whistle. Very much like Monsanto are actually trying to patent the animal of the pig. How can you patent an animal? Think about it.
You know, I'm born in the Chinese year of the pig, so I hope I don't wake up one morning to find I'm owned by Monsanto. I'm not sure I can handle being genetically modified. Thank you. I thought terrorism was you know, something like genocide, you know, when you pick on a group of people, like like Barclays, the bank has with their speculation on the stuff that people kind of need to eat. And they made a lot of money out of it. I think they get big bonuses for it as well.
Bye-bye, lovely policeman. We love you.
Bye-bye. Thank you for looking after our freedom of speech.
So you see, ladies and gentlemen, what we are doing here today is completely and utterly lawful.
Just because it's lawful doesn't make it right, you know? I sometimes wonder about that, because some of these things the banks do, well, they're lawful, because, you know, like Tony Blair, who's now a banker, well, they get people like him, when they can sign it off, they get them to say, oh, you know, when you steal from people, when you commit fraud, when you sell derivatives that aren't really what they say on the tin, well, that's alright, because you're my mate and I've got to make it lawful. Doesn't mean that it's absolutely right.
Tony Blair's one of the most inherent criminals for that, signing in over 3,000 laws in his time, more laws passed 300 years before that.
And he's working for Goldman Sachs, picking up £5 million a year. And what happened to John Major? Oh, do you remember him? Yeah, he's European Director of the Carlyle Group, one of the biggest arms sellers and support companies in the world. And I wonder how he got that job. I wonder if it was a kickback for some of the decisions he's made while he was in power. How about Gordon Brown? He's working for the IMF now. Oh, it all sounds a bit corrupt and a bit iffy to me. But then again, I'm just a silly man with a megaphone.
I think maybe David Cameron will be, I don't know, some kind of emperor.
Oh, I think you might work for RBS, I think. At the moment, that's looking favourite. I mean, he's given them enough money. Surely you want some of that like his pocket. After all, Tony Blair with Goldman Sachs. Isn't that how British politics works?
Well, if that is the way it works, then surely we'll see Richard Branson on the bench within the next couple of months.
Oh yes, absolutely, because now Virgin have actually branched out into banking now, so it's starting to come full circle, isn't it?
Now, hang on a minute. Richard Branson just bought a bank.
Surely not, he can't do that.
I thought Richard Branson only bought things on the cheap.
Well, he did buy it on the cheap.
Who did he buy it on the cheap from?
Well, he bought it on the cheap from the government without any of the debts that the bank originally held.
Oh, that sounds like a good deal. Oh, I wouldn't mind one of those.
But you're still paying the debt.
Well, can I buy myself out and the government keep the debt?
To do that, you've got to be in charge.
Oh, I'm obviously not a big enough banker at the moment then. I can work on it.
I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, here's another thing for you, right? Next time we get a letter through the post that actually is addressed to the householder or the occupier, don't open it. Because you know why? Because that letter is not addressed to you. Your first name is not the, and your second name is not householder or occupier. So what obligation do you have to open that letter? None. A quote by Josiah Charles Stack, and he says, "The modern banking system manufactures money out of nothing. The process is perhaps the most astounding piece of sleight of hand that was ever invented. Banking was conceived in inequity and born in sin. But if you want to continue to be slaves to the bankers and pay the cost of your own slavery, then let the bankers continue to create money and control credit." Thank you.
If for us to live our life,
I'm a slave.
we're all slaves. Slaves to the monetary system,
No,
slaves to the government.
it's my message to you. And if you have a dog, you know what, or you've got a cat or pet, you've got a horse, How many times you hand it clean the bathroom? Or feed them? You know what I'm saying?
Some ways, you know,
I'm proud of slavery. We should prevent slavery this way. Humans were bred to be a slave.
No, it's a duty. It's a responsibility that you take on. You say, I'll look after my dog will do that dog thing for me. You know, and you do that the same, you know, with a big group of people, and you call it a country, and you call it the world. As long as you have that communication, it's all the time that black fights white, or socialist fights capitalist, or anarchist fights totalitarian. You know, all the time, public sector, private sector, you're all fighting each other.
Are you saying you would help out?
Meanwhile, the criminals pick the pocket.
Would you say you'd help out, for example, do you have family? Quite, do you have family?
Yeah. I've got a big tribe. Yeah.
So do you have a father, mother, a daughter, so forth? Yeah.
Some are dead, some are.
Right, but what I'm saying is, would you help out her family first? Huh? Help out her family first rather than your own?
Well, you know, it depends where.
That's what I'm saying.
No, for me it depends where I can do the most good. Yeah?
Well, wouldn't it be
if I can help out my family a little bit, yeah, I can help out the family next door a whopping great big chunk. I'm going to help out a whopping great big chunk. Because that makes best use of my stuff.
And make best use.
Yeah, and karma will sort the rest out.
If you took care of your own people, your own family first, then I wouldn't expect you to give me a 50p piece. And this is your beautiful girlfriend, you let her go with that cup of tea. You know what I mean? That's my belief.
But if you can make better use of it, but if that 50p was just for, you know, a new bit of makeup that she doesn't need, yeah, and actually 50p was the difference between you having a roof over your head on a freezing night or not, I'll give you the 50p, because you make better use of it.
It's not saying...
It's just about making the best use. All there is in life is stuff and shit. And
even the dogs at my master's table get fed.
Well, the thing is, we have the technological and resource means to feed, clothe, educate, and provide for every single person on this planet.
As a global population, yes.
Yeah.
But not as Britain.
Buy everybody a Lamborghini.
Yeah. But the thing is, we've, as you say, as Britain, as though, like, you know, Britain are better than anyone else.
No.
We're not. No one's better than anyone else.
Can't feed the will.
Get a big pot.
They have the resources.
But as a country ourselves, not everything that we need is available right here. That's why international trade is necessary.
We can take care of the whole world. No problem.
But the point,
we're not a one world.
But who would run the world government? At the moment, we're looking at people like JP Morgan and Rothschild carving out that empire, and it's taken them 60 years to do that. You know, they're trying to do that, the authoritarian rule. But the point is, the corruption of man gets in the way. It's one thing if the resources, like Adam says, you know, managed by a global entity that's actually got the best interests of humanity at heart, but they don't. They've got the best interests of their family at heart.
So it serves them to keep us actually segregated into thinking, oh yeah, I'm English, you're French, you're German, you're Italian.
You're gay, you're straight, you're black, you're white, you're tall, you're short, you're ginger, you're black.
You go to France and asking for a job, and there's a French guy there for the same job. Who do you think will get the job? You or him?
Well, I'd actually prefer to live in a world where we wouldn't have to work for it.
But at the moment, it's not a pagan country, pagan world.
But on the street, you're right. You know, if, you know, when I'm homeless and I go to apply for a job, I don't.
Yeah, you can't get any of it.
Nothing. You know how it goes.
I'm
wearing the same suit, but I got a dress. Yeah. You know it's a different story. You know
there's no fixing road.
You know, and that,
if you're skilled, you treat like skilled.
Yeah, actually, but when people, you know, it doesn't matter whether I talk to somebody who's homeless or whether I talk to somebody who's got a yacht. They're both actually pretty much the same kind of people.
For supporting the fake economy, and thank you all for going about your lives, not questioning anything that they're doing, not questioning the illegal wars in Iraq, Afghanistan, and the future war that we're going to wage on Iran. So thank you all for believing the lie, not questioning anything, and going about your lives. Thank you very much. Know that the institutions that we believe are altruistic are actually laundering drug money, funding illegal wars, just so little brown people in other countries can be killed for their resources, just so we can carry on our way of life. So if you like your way of life right now, keep remembering that it's bought at the expense of the torture, suffering, and death of very poor brown people in other countries. Thank you.
Free hugs will make you smile. Anything you buy that's made in China won't make you smile in the same way as a hug with somebody you care about and somebody you love. That's real currency. Thank you.
On behalf of the Royal Bank of England, I would like to thank you all for looking the other way while we create money out of thin air. Thank you.
I think the government released figures the other day saying that consumer debt is about £1 trillion. Well, yesterday they went and made £400 million, so I guess they just paid off 2/5 of that. So, you know, if you want to go out and spend money you haven't got, if you want banks to go and make money out of thin air, and you go and spend it on the things you like, the things you want, don't worry, because the government's got this great magic trick. They just print more money. The downside of it is the money in your pocket, the money that you save, is worth less and less and less. The best offer on the high street today, 3 hours. Better than the hot price here in town. Keep you all in the winter. 3 huts are the way to go. They're not
And get a free hug over here. It won't cost you a penny and it might just brighten your day.